Oh my god, not Chuck E. Cheese, man. Man, that's my childhood. But like, yo, I was one of those kids that used to be scared of fucking Chuck E. Cheese. I ain't gonna lie. I used to be scared of that little rat. Cause you know I don't like no rats. Okay. Okay. We finna get into this. The decline of Chuck E. Cheese. What happened? What happened? What happened? What happened? Golly. Blockbuster.
You know, I can always count on my audience to keep me up to date on the latest
miss
bankruptcy
Blockbuster, bro.
filings. I don't think any of them get past me. It can actually get a little depressing sometimes, but I still appreciate. I used to love this place. Chuck E. Cheese is a
Oh, God,
combination
bro.
of pizza and arcade games. What else can you
I ain't
ask?
gonna lie, did y'all hear about the pizza? Like what they was doing with the pizza, bro? Like I heard it was leftover pizza. I ain't gonna lie, from like, you know what I'm saying, like the other day. I don't know, but like them niggas was wild. I ain't gonna lie. I feel like Chuck E. Cheese was like an upgrade version of McDonald's. That's all. That's all. That's all it is.
Ask for as a kid. In
But with pizza.
2019, 56% of their sales came from entertainment and merchandise, and the remaining 44% came from food and beverages, which is good because they prefer to
facts.
sell the entertainment and merchandise because they have a higher profit margin. They say it's intended for families with children between the ages
I don't
2
remember that
and
game.
12, especially for birthday parties. 16% of the revenue came from reserved birthday party packages.
I ain't gonna lie, I'm gonna stop pausing, but like I've never went for a birthday party, bro. I've never went for a birthday party. I only went for a fucking field trip, bro. That's the only time I went. I remember that cause bro, my camp. Yes, I went to summer camp. So I went to summer camp, right? And then we used to go on these different type of trips every single week, right? And then so we would go to Chuck E. Cheese. It would be like a traditional thing. And then so we would see all these people throwing a birthday party. I'm like, what? You can have a party up there? And then me, being me, I decided to join. You know, I kind of embarrassed myself. But, you know, it is what it is, bro. It is what it is, bro.
And the buildings are far bigger than your
Oh my
average pizza
God.
place. That's because they have seating for over 400 guests, in addition to about 75 games, rides, and attractions.
Okay, I remember that.
Including the Ticket Blaster. You go inside this windy area and try to catch all these tickets flying around. I don't remember seeing this one back in the day, but
Bro.
I have to admit that I would
A
still...
dude like me, bro, I would literally, bro, I don't care. Like, the rule is to not bring a bag in that thing. Bro, nigga like me, bro. My underpants, whip that bit out, put it back in my shirt. Come on now. Come on now.
not mind giving this one a try. Now, as someone who hasn't been there in probably more than 15 years now, I have to ask the question, what is this? Is this what kids today think of when they hear the name Charles Entertainment Cheese? Yeah,
You're
that's his
right.
full name, and it happens to be the funniest name I've ever heard. But this new
mouse.
guy, he plays guitar, wears jeans, and where is his hat? I don't know how I feel about this.
For
I guess
real,
they
I was gonna
changed
say
it
that.
in 2012. This right here is
Right
the
out
Chuck
of
E. Cheese that I know. I can't even tell you how many commercials I've seen with him running around
Oh my
that
God,
arcade.
nostalgic,
As I say
bro.
all of this, the bankruptcy is very new,
Nostalgic.
but it's looking like they're going to survive. Hopefully, they're just gonna close a few restaurants and come back from it stronger than ever. As far as the reasoning behind it, simply put, they've been in a financially dangerous situation for a while now, and then when this pandemic happened, they were forced to close locations, and the loss of sales proved to be too much. I'll talk more about it later. I have all these graphs made, but I have to say that this bankruptcy is just the latest addition to a pretty eventful history. It's technically not even the first bankruptcy. And how about this? Chuck E. Cheese was started in 1977 by Nolan Bushnell, who, believe it or not, is
Bro.
also the main guy who
Bro, I
found-
believe like the robots used to be like creepy to everybody, so they kind of like changed it up a bit. I heard that. I heard that because like the 90s was crazy, bro. The 90s was fucking crazy because niggas wasn't talented back then. I ain't gonna lie.
founded the video game company Atari.
They had no clout.
Chuck E. Cheese actually started as a division of Atari, and it was Bushnell's experience with video games that gave him the idea. He had sold so many of them to businesses who would set them up in their tavern or restaurant.
I
and
want one in my
recognized
house,
how
bro.
they were the ones
Having
making
that
the
machine.
real money. He said he was selling these coin-operated games for $1,500, and then over their lifetime, they would earn $30,000 to $50,000 from all the people paying quarters to play them. So he thought that he would be better on that end of the situation, but he also also knew that he needed to be unique about it. He had the idea of serving food, especially pizza, because it took time to prepare, and that wait time was the perfect opportunity to play some games. He also had the idea of using animatronic entertainment. He had previously worked at carnivals, so he knew that once the characters were
I don't lie,
created,
this
it
creeped
was
me
a
out.
cheap and effortless way to keep people's attention. At first, it was going to be called Coyote Pizza, but then when making
I
the
remember that.
animatronic, the coyote costume that they
remember
ordered
that.
turned out to be a rat costume. Bushnell's immediate response was to just run with it and instead call the restaurant Rick Rat's Pizza, which is not great for obvious reasons. Ultimately, because it sounds chipper and forces you to smile when you
Glad
say
Mouse.
it, the name was chosen to be Chuck E. Cheese's Pizza Time Theater. Of course, the designs and the details have changed over the past few decades, but the general principle is still the same
Oh my
today.
God.
The issue for Bushnell here
Okay, when I see a nigga up in a fucking costume, bro, my heart dropped so bad, bro. Like, my heart was just beating out my chest, bro. Like, every time when dude or, female, were like, move towards me, bro, my heart would just drop, bro. It's like, you can't do that to a kid, bro. Like, you on your last straw, my boy. You can't do that. But hey, that's how we used to roll back then, you know?
was that this was a division of Atari, and he had recently sold Atari to Warner the previous year. So though it was his idea and he was the driving force behind it, he did not own it. Luckily for him, I don't think Warner really wanted it. They weren't too interested in running an arcade-themed restaurant, so they were willing to sell it to him for the very reasonable price of $500,000, which he paid them over a 5-year span. Bushnell was forced to separate from
he got
Atari
ripped
soon
off.
after, and that's when he started dedicating
He got
his
ripped off with a
full-time
business like
efforts
that, bro.
toward Chuck E. Cheese. That first restaurant was a massive success
Give me
from
100
day
mil.
one, so without hesitation, he opened an even bigger second location that was quickly followed
great
by
ugly
many more.
piece of
They were
shit
such a
hits.
hit that he was getting approached by people that wanted to open their own Chuck E. Cheese franchises. The notable one here is a deal that he made with Robert Brock. He owned this hotel company and was looking to own a bunch of Chuck E. Cheese franchises. The two made a deal to make it happen, then soon after, Brock wanted out of the deal because he instead wanted to work with someone else to start his own chain of similar restaurants. Bushnell then sued him for breaking the contract, and the end result was Brock being able to open and operate his own chain of similar restaurants called Showbiz, but he had to give a small percentage of the sales to Bushnell. Through the first half of the 1980s, the two competed with each other, both expanding just about as
Dad, bro. At least make something family friendly. That is not family friendly, bro. That's like, bro. Y'all remember Friday, bro? What's that? Friday, Friday's night or something? It's some game, bro. This reminds me of that, bro. That reminds me of that, bro. Cause ain't no way, boy. Ain't no way. Is she eating salad with no dressing?
as fast as they
That's
could.
crazy.
They were going into debt. Chuck E. Cheese had a public
That's actually
stock
crazy.
offering. They were hustling to get the money from all angles so they can keep up with each other and continue
Bro.
growing. 1984 is when
Psychopath.
everything went bad. Back in the 1980s, when there was a new Chuck E. Cheese in your town, it was unlike anything you had seen before, so you're gonna want to bring out the family and check it out. There's a bit of a novelty aspect to it, meaning they're much more likely to get more business when they first open, and
It's
then
just
you can
creepy.
expect that to slow down over time. Well, Bushnell was in a rush to open a bunch of these, so he didn't have time to wait and see whether or not the sales would fall, meaning he was opening new locations based on sketchy information, which led to many of the new ones being placed in less than ideal areas. The same thing happened with Brock, and to further complicate things, the great video game crash of 1983. They really dropped in popularity, and it was not a good time to be involved with them. and
Yo, this hold on. It was like this game that I used to play, bro. Like it was like Robot Chicken or something like that, where you gotta like shoot the ships out in space, bro. It's like bro. I gotta find that game. I wonder if that game is like still around because they kind of like blocked all the OG games back then. So I actually want to see if that game is still like. Oh, and especially pinball, bro. I miss that game.
in any way. Just to
I
put
don't
this
like
all
these new
together,
pinball
they had
games, bro.
gone into debt to open dozens of restaurants, many of which were in poorly chosen areas, just before people stopped caring about the
Man,
core
I
of their
remember playing
business.
Roblox back then
I think
too.
we can see where this is headed. The poor sales meant
Or
Chuck E.
it
Cheese
wasn't even.
couldn't
Oh my
keep up
god.
with that high debt, so they were forced into bankruptcy,
Lock
which
some new
actually marks
memories,
the
bro.
end of that original chain. Showbiz, however, was able to navigate through it. They refinanced their loans and sold off about 15% of the company to raise
remember
money.
that.
Not only did they survive, they
Is
were
that
able
Big
to
Bird?
put together $35 million to buy the assets of Chuck E. Cheese through that bankruptcy.
Hey, y'all remember the
So that
Wiggles,
right there,
bro?
That is a strange turn of events. The imitator
Hey,
ended
yo.
up beating the original. To me, that's like if Lucky Charms were to fail and then be acquired by Marshmallow Mateys.
That looks good. I ain't go. Yo, that looks good, bro. That looks good. Don't. Yo, have you heard? Hold on. Y'all know them breakfast bars, bro? I be eating those. I ain't gonna lie, every day, bro. That's why I'm kind of getting chunky again. I be eating them. It's like 100 calories. I don't know why, but it's 100 calories, bro. Like,
Well, the end result was a much
in the world
larger
in their right
company that
mind
now either owned or
will
franchised
put that as
almost
100 calories?
250
Knock
restaurants
me.
under both of the names Showbiz and Chuck E. Cheese. That's how they existed for the rest of the 1980s. Some tricky transfers of
Oh, that's
ownership
so
happening,
creepy,
but
bro.
the two chains remained together, but as separate brands. Then, in the early 1990s, they decided that it would be more efficient to simply combine them. They started converting all the Showbiz restaurants into Chuck E. Cheese restaurants.
Is that
because they
Ash?
figured that it would be smarter to have one powerful brand rather than two weaker ones. So oddly enough, for the next 5 years or so, the company itself was called Showbiz Pizza, but all of the restaurants were called Chuck E. Cheese. Then in 1998, they changed the name of the company to CEC Entertainment, finally marking the end of the name Showbiz after a pretty crazy 18-year run. Alright, getting back to the recent issues, they have had trouble attracting customers. They even implemented this whole revitalization strategy to try to breathe some life back into it. Some of the highlights would be an emphasis toward parents. I don't think parents like this place very much. They never really have because
oh
they
my
can
god, I had this shirt. Oh my god, bro. Oh my god. I mean, everybody. It comes a point in time if you live up in the United States, you know, people wear this shirt. You know, like it's a known thing. It's a known thing. But I had the same exact shirt, bro.
pretty
It's crazy.
chaotic. So they've been making this effort to
That's
focus
crazy.
their marketing toward them, and they changed their menu to include
I
more
still remember
items
it. I
that they
still have
would
it.
like. They've been implementing this Play Pass card system where you use points as opposed to tokens just to make things simpler and quicker.
What?
They have remodeled 82 of their 612
That's like
locations.
Davis
They now
Buster's,
have
bro.
Wi-Fi. It's hard to tell, but it looks like these may have helped a little. But in addition to the unpredictable revenue,
gonna say,
they've been
a
dealing
million?
with these
A
rising
billion?
expenses. Just a bunch of smaller things that have been adding up. Higher ingredient costs, changes in minimum wage laws
That's
causing
that
the
had
labor
no
costs to go
gloves.
up, stuff that you might expect.
That's how COVID begins, bro. That's how COVID started, bro.
But when you
Niggas ain't
combine
washing
these
their
higher
hands, too.
expenses with the lower revenue, it results in a consistently lower operating income. Meaning, while operating
Dang,
these
they
restaurants,
dropped, like,
they're
20
making
mil, 40
less and
mil?
less money from it each
2014?
year. But honestly, even with the pandemic
mean, that was a
complicating
bad year
things,
anyway.
I would never expect these factors to lead to a bankruptcy. This operating
Ebola
income
virus was
has
going
been
on,
going
too.
down, but it's still very much in the
Yeah, I forgot
positive.
about that
They've
shit,
been
too.
making tens of millions of dollars every year. So here's the real issue, and you might see where this is headed. I think you'll agree that in 2014, their total debt took a pretty major leap, practically tripling to over $1 billion.
I can see that.
And
I can
that's
see that.
because in 2014, Chuck E. Cheese was bought by a private equity firm called Apollo Global Management for the price of $950 million. And that same year, Chuck E. Cheese spent $113 million to acquire a smaller Arizona-based pizza chain called Peter Piper Pizza, which I think happens to be another really good name. After those deals, they were
I ain't gonna
loaded
lie,
with
somebody
debt,
already
and over
took
the
that
last 5
trademark,
years,
bro.
have not paid very much of it off. off.
That's
When
why
you're
they got
making $50
scammed.
million a year, that's really good, unless you have $1 billion in debt. You will never pay it off that way. You're kind of living on the edge at that point. And there's also one more layer to consider that's been making this situation even worse. Nothing of what I've said so far has accounted for interest. When you are $1 billion in debt, you have to pay a lot of interest. That operating income is what they have before the interest expense is included, which is almost always greater. Meaning, once everything is included, they're actually losing money each year. They reported losses 5 of the last 6 years since the acquisition. They are really never going to pay off the debt that way. With this trend, I don't see how they would ever really pay it off without something big happening, like maybe a bankruptcy. To summarize, Chuck E. Cheese has had some trouble as far as lower sales and rising costs.
And Chuck E.
Something
Cheese
that I would
changed a lot,
consider
bro.
too threatening. But then they went ahead and raised that debt to over $1 billion, which I don't think they can afford. For the last 5 years, they've been living payment to payment, and then when something happened to interrupt their cash flow, that was it. I think of Chuck E. Cheese as a person that was living so far beyond their means that a temporary pay cut led to the bank foreclosing on their house. Let me know in the comments, do you agree with that assessment? It is hard to deny that the $1 billion in debt added in 2014 through those acquisitions is their main issue, but is there more to it that I failed to mention? Also, what do you think of the early years of the company? It started as part of Atari and then went bankrupt and was bought by a competitor that was almost an early part of the business. There was some cool stuff happening there. And how do you envision Mr. Chuck E. Cheese? This guy right here will always be the
Creepy.
true one in my heart, but maybe it's different for you. And any other thoughts concerning any of
Oh,
this?
Toys R
leave
Us,
them
bro.
in the
Toys R Us. He made a Toys R Us. I'm gonna like this video. Long John Sip, right? Ain't that Captain D's? Captain D's is not out of, bro. What y'all talking about, bro? But comment down below if you like this video and want me to go to Chuck E. Cheese.